What are the dynamics of an unconscious response? Come on, you guys are paying attention, right?
It's first. That you were unconscious.
Sorry?
Not knowing that you were unconscious.
Not knowing that you were unconscious? Okay. But I gave you some very specific parameters, right?
It's first.
It's the first thing that pops up.
You think you're making it.
You always think you're making it up. It's never loud. And it's almost always, you almost always have an urge to edit it. There's almost always a background urge to say, oh, that's not right. That's just a random thought. That can't have anything to do with why you're here. Yes, it is. There is no such thing, ladies and gentlemen, as a random thought in a human being. Just because you can't see the connections doesn't mean they aren't there. Okay? There are firewall upon firewall upon firewall between each level of the nervous system. And it generalizes upward, but it doesn't always generalize downward. If you're at the cortex level, the neocortical level, the rational, logical level, your unconscious mind understands everything that conscious mind is going through. It doesn't care. Because it's running the show. What it does want from your conscious mind is direction. It's running default programs, and it's holding this shit, waiting for the conscious mind to do its job, which is go back inside and tell it what to do with its resources using the proper interface. But it doesn't. We don't do that because our culture didn't teach us how to do that. It taught us that if there's, like, anybody ever had this experience? You're driving, it's a bright sunny day, maybe you're driving with this Florida, you're driving with the top down, the car's top not, stop that. There's impressionables. My daughter is back there, okay? But you're driving down the street, maybe the cop's down, you're cranking the radio, not a thought in your head, right? Having a good old time. Anybody ever have this experience? And then a shitty thought from when you were 6 comes up. You go, fuck that! You stomp that shit back down, turn the radio up louder, and off you go, right? But what you don't realize is that your unconscious mind is hanging out down here, smothering in his own shit, saying, hey, motherfucker ain't doing anything right now. Maybe we can finally handle this! And we're going, fuck, I don't want, down, down, down! Right? And that's what we do. Because nobody taught us that the fastest, to quote the love guru, the only way out is in. Right? The only way out is in. People here, how many people here have a military background? All right? When they were teaching you, and I never had the honor of serving, but I try to serve as many of you as I can now in the capacities that I can. But when you were being trained, did they teach you how to deal with ambushes? What did they tell you? How do you survive an ambush, Bodhi? Drop and shoot?
I was in the Navy.
Okay, they don't, yeah.
Run towards it.
You run fucking towards it. Because if you run away from the ambush, what happens?
You get shot.
You fucking die. Right? You're trained to do the counterintuitive thing. Because that's the highest chance of survival. Human beings, your reptile brain is running the show now. How many people here have not seen one of my videos? Okay, there's a whole YouTube channel full of reptile shit. Not real reptile shit. It's a technical term, right? But we talk about the 3 brains. People talk about, I'm always talking about how the reptile brain runs the show. And it does. If you want to transcend the reptile brain, you must do 2 things. A, you must accept that you have one. That you will not get rid of it. Okay? And then you must learn to do the counterintuitive thing. You must learn to run into the things that the reptile wants you to run away from. Because your greatest growth, your greatest knowledge, your greatest enlightenment is on the other side of what the meat wants you to run away from. Polarity in any direction, towards or away from. There's an NLP term, towards and away from. NLP tells us that all human beings are either motivated towards pleasure and away from pain. Buddha says good karma and bad karma is still karma. True, not true? It's intuitive to want to get rid of the bad karma, right? But do we want to get rid of the good karma? Oh, that's a reptilian response, isn't it? We run towards pleasure and away from pain, right? Do we want to run towards the pain? No, fuck no, that's a reptilian response, right? If you want to evolve, if you want to transcend the lizard, you must accept who and what it is and work with it. And you must also understand what it's telling you on a higher level. The things we run away from are the things that guide us towards where we need to go to be free. But it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would fucking do it. Right? Just an idea. When the reptile sends you a message, there's a positive intention for it, to you. Many times when you go through an experience, and it's directly pertinent to the processes we've studied up to this point, when you go through a process or experience, you will start to spin it and it will start to diminish. Now, many times when you do the spinning technique, it'll just drop from whatever it is to 0. It'll be done. But every now and then, you'll come across something that doesn't change completely. It changes incrementally. So you'll spin it and it'll go from an 8 to a 6. Or a 6 to a 5.5. And usually, remember that the nervous system is based around this idea of wash, rinse, repeat. Most people, when they point to where they feel it, they take it out, and they spin it, they do it one time, they get what they get, and they move on, they forget it, and they say, well, that's as good as I'm going to get. No. Just keep going. And you will eventually get it to 0. Now, sometimes what happens, though, is you go from an 8 to a 6 to a 4 to a 2, and it stays at a 2. Won't go any further. Or sometimes you get it from an 8 to a 6 to a 4 to a 2 to a 0, and then 20 minutes later, an hour, 2 days later, 3 days later, it comes back. When that happens, it's indicative of the same thing, basically. There's some lesson or some implicit rule connected to that experience that the neurology wants to hold on to. Because if it were to let that rule or that lesson go, you would be in danger again. Remember, your neurology, the first prime directive of the unconscious mind is to keep you safe. Anything that moves the genes forward, anything that leads to better survival outcomes, the neurology is just going to do. It's not going to ask your permission. Okay? Many times when, like, I see this a lot with back injuries and neck injuries. A lot of times what happens is people will have a back injury and they'll go through the rehab process and everything, and there's nothing physically wrong with their back anymore. And they have full range of motion in certain ways. But they turn a certain way and there's a tightness there. It's like an achy feeling. It limits their mobility. And they think that's as good as it's going to get. Actually, what you've got there is emotional muscle guarding. What's literally happening is the nervous system is generating a ghost pain, almost like a phantom limb pain, that reminds you, hey, don't do that again. Because it doesn't believe you won't do it again. So many times what has happened is when someone's had a pain that's gone down to like a 2 and it doesn't move, if we extract the lesson and move it to a different part of the neurological filing system, the pain goes away and the mobility comes back. Because we've satisfied the prime directive of the unconscious mind, is to protect us. Procrastination, protection. Okay? It's it. The problem is we're afraid. We may not know consciously what we're afraid of, but the thing we're afraid of and the thing generating the fear has a structure. Anybody have a pain? Something, an ouchie? Come on up. What do you got for me, brother? What's your name?
John.
John, welcome. All right, what do you got, bro?
Right here. Back left shoulder.
Back left shoulder, what'd you do to it?
It just hurts.
It just hurts.
Is that what you're looking for? Or is
No. How long have you been going on?
now since I've been here?
So since you've been here? Okay.
Yeah.
Scale of 0 to 10, how rate the intensity of the feeling?
4.
Okay, is it okay to get rid of it?
Yeah.
You sure?
That'd be nice.
Is there any reason why you might want to keep it?
Yeah. Keep me from paying attention.
Keeps you from paying attention. Okay.
Just that
Close your eyes.
procrastination.
Point to where you feel it. Now look at it with your inner eyes. I want you to notice there's a color connected to that feeling. What's the color, first impression?
Yellow.
Reach in, grab all that yellow energy, take it out and hold it in your hands in front of you. Make sure you get it all, because sometimes that shit hides. And I've had people pull this shit out and dig for 20 minutes. You got it all?
Yeah.
Okay. As you look at it with your inner eyes, did the color change or stay the same, first impression?
Changed.
Excellent. What'd it change to?
Green.
Excellent. As you look at that green energy, I want you to notice it's moving. It's spinning in a certain direction. What direction is it spinning? Physically grab it with both of your hands. Make it the opposite of what it was. Now spin it like a wheel in that new direction. Double the spin. double the speed, double the force, double the magnitude. Keep doubling it over and over and over again until it takes on a life of its own, until it's impossible for it to come back the way it was. When you know you've got it, slam it back into that spot. That's right, let it happen. Notice the change. Notice it's gone. Notice as the program works its way deeper and deeper into your neurology. Any program, any belief, any situation, any circumstance, any feeling that's not in harmony with this new set of instructions, your neurology is going to begin to shed. It's going to begin to purge like a snake shedding its skin. Like old software being uninstalled by newer, more powerful, more unstoppable software in every way. Just notice the process taking place. Allow it to fully complete itself. And when you know you've got it, you know it's locked in, try to bring the old feeling back and notice what happens instead. Let it come up. Whatever feelings come up, that's just the emotional detox. That's your body's way of purging what you no longer need, because it's done now. Now you'll notice when they do this, they'll break out in a sweat. He's sweating bullets right now. That's his whole nervous system resetting. Right? Your eyes will flutter. You'll see people do all kinds of weird stuff. Let them. You got to let them know it's okay, because we live in a society that teaches us it's not okay. It's not okay to express. It's not okay to be ourselves. That we're bad people for just even having certain kinds of thoughts. Fuck them. They're giving us all cancer. Right? Now, it's a pretty radical statement, I know, but fuck them. That's right. Let it come up, let it come out. It's okay. When you know you got it, just allow your eyes to open, try to bring it back, notice what happens instead.
Feels better.
0 to scale, 0 to 10?
0.
0. Now, you see that face? That's the face of somebody processing a whole lot more than he thought he was. Give him a big round of applause. Let it happen. That wasn't what I wanted to do, but that was the appropriate technique for him. You. No, not you. Well, you want to come up? Come on. No? You want to come up? You got something? I don't know. For some reason, I just zeroed on it. Is it okay to be on camera? Is it okay to be on camera? Come on up. Now, remember we talked about that bucket list thing? The problem that we have with bucket listing is that many times when we go to pick something we want to fix, we usually pick the nastiest, evilest, most ridiculously powerful thing in our life that's causing us the most trauma, and then we literally try to read the instructions out of the book while we do it. Not a good idea. You guys know the story of Bambi versus Godzilla?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
Well, the little 5-minute clip that you see where Bambi is going in, that's pretty much what happens when you take a technique you've just learned from a book and throw it against an a feeling or emotion or event that have 20 years of built up energy to it. You can't do it. It's too strong, and you're already caught in smart person syndrome because you don't know the technique. You have no history of success with it, and you're going up against something you've been doing successfully for 20 fucking years to feel miserable. That's why it don't work. You got to invert that formula. You got to develop a technique that is so powerful and so strong and so reliable for you that by the time you reach those level 10s and level 9s and 8s, it's no different subjectively than a 1 or a 2. Right? And that's the whole bucket listing process. So I'm going to ask, what's your name again?
Janice.
Janice, thank you for coming out. And she brought her own chair, which she's renting, by the way. So if anybody has to, needs a chair. Do you have something that maybe on a shittiness scale of 0 to 10 is like a 1 or between a 1 and a 3 that you'd like to change or get rid of?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have to tell me what it was, but what I want you to do when you think of that thing, I want you to close your eyes and point to where you feel it. That thing that bothers you. That's right, excellent. Now, with your other hand, I want you to imagine that there's a picture floating in the space around you that represents that feeling. Reach out with your other hand and find that picture for me. Just reach out and touch it, first impression. Excellent. Now take both of your hands, trace the edges of it with both of your hands so you know exactly how big it is. Excellent. Now, just to make sure we've got the right one, I want you to grab it, and just like you're doing now, I want you to expand it like the windows on your iPhone, and notice what happens as you expand the picture, what happens to the feeling. Ew. Huh? Yeah. All right, put it back to where it was. Now, again, pull it closer to your body. Notice what happens to the feeling. Yeah, put it back. That's all I need. All right. Now, is it okay to get rid of this? Would it be okay? Any reason why you might want to keep it?
No.
Okay. I want you to use your imagination now. Put a big, thick black frame around that image. Now, you're probably too young to remember when televisions had actual dials and knobs and switches instead of remote controls, right? But I want you to feel on the bottom of that frame, and I want you to notice that there's a knob that controls the brightness or the contrast, and just find that knob for me. Excellent. I want you to turn all the way to the right until the image whites out completely. Notice what happens to the feeling. Excellent. Turn it all the way to the left until the image blacks out completely. Tell me what happens to the feeling.
Stronger.
Okay, perfect. Which one do you like better?
Right.
Turn it all the way to the white until the image whites out completely. Perfect. Now, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Excellent. With the index finger of your right hand, just like you would take a stylus and write across a tablet, I want you to write everything that this experience had to teach you so you can keep the lessons and let the rest go. Just start writing. You don't even have to consciously know what you're writing. Your hand will just start moving. And the screen will scroll so you can write as much or as little as you want. And just keep writing until you know you've got it all. Anything that pops into your head, get it on that screen. Got it all? Excellent. Reach up, grab it with both of your hands. Shrink it down to the size of a postage stamp. Float it up over the top of your head. I'm going to take it, move it back behind the horizon. You know the sound a nail gun makes? Feel it nailed back there. When you know it's nailed back, they're impossible to bring back. Try to bring it back and notice what happens instead. Okay. Bring your hands down. Take it to your body. Notice how different you feel. How's your neck feel?
Nothing.
Scale of 0 to nothing. Completely gone? Big round of applause for the lady. What's interesting about that particular technique is that works really well on people with frozen shoulder. People who can't raise their arms. I tell them, point to where you feel it, they do this. I say, find the picture, they do this. I go, make it bigger, make it smaller, pull it closer. Now, lift it up over your head. And they're back there going like this, and they're going, what the fuck just happened? If they even realize it. Right? I've had this happen with MMA fighters. I've had this happen with bodybuilders. Right? Because every physical issue we have has an emotional component. It can't not. Even if it wasn't externally. A broken leg has an emotional component. A broken leg has an emotional component. It just may not be the sticking point in the healing process, but sometimes it is. Sometimes bones don't knit. And they should. Why? My job, I don't make the rules, I just report them. Right? And the reason I demonstrate that technique is because that is the technique that you use when you reach a stopping point where the technique just won't go any further. Because many times what happens is we reach a point where the unconscious mind is saying, well, shit, we're getting rid of this. That's cool, but wait a minute. He learned this from that experience. If we let everything go, he'll forget that shit and it'll happen again. Which is the big fear of the neurology. Your neurology is afraid that if it lets it fully go, you'll forget the lesson and it'll happen to you again. Make sense? This is why we need this special technique, because when the unconscious mind puts together a DVD, right? It's got a blank DVD and it's just written up this really cool traumatic experience that it's going to play for you, right? It's like ragu. You know that old spaghetti sauce commercial? It's in there. But it's not like this is this part and that is that part. It's all in together like one big freaking stew. And it doesn't make a distinction between the lessons implicitly and explicitly learned from that experience and the experience itself. It's all lumped together. And until you give the neurology a very different process that allows it to preserve that one piece, it will tend out of default to hold on to everything. Because it doesn't know how to make a distinction, because you haven't told it. It doesn't know how to make a distinction between what needs to go and what needs to stay, so everything stays. That's the default mechanism. When in doubt, hoard it. Oh. Right? So, how many people here have got something they'd like to, on a scale of shittiness scale of 0 to 3, they'd like to change or get rid of? Everybody stand up. Who's got one? Stand up! I'm not going to ask you what it is yet. How many people here have something they'd like more of? All right. So, a couple of tweaks. When it's something you want more of, what I tend to do is I tend to do everything the same up to we start writing the lessons. Everything is the same. And then what I do is instead of just moving it back, although you can, I turn the picture of something you want more of and you want to be more dominant in your life into like a windshield on a car where you see everything through that filter. So you just make it really freaking big and you just leave it in front of you. And you make it a little bit transparent so you can see the future through it. These are different things that you can use to program your neurology. For those of you who've got something you want to get rid of, let's just start very basic. Point to where you feel it. Whatever it is. Imagine, now notice there's a feeling, there's a color connected to that feeling. We'll come back to the color later if we need to. Now I want you to imagine that there's a picture floating in the space around you that represents that feeling. I want you to reach out and touch it. Take both of your hands, trace the edges of it with both of your hands so you know exactly how big it is. Just to make sure we got the right one, I want you to grab the edges, pull it closer to your body. Notice what happens to the intensity of the feeling. Now put it back, make the picture bigger. Notice what happens to the intensity of the feeling. And now we'll put it back to where it was. Put a big, thick black frame around it. Now, for those of you who are old enough to remember the old-style televisions with the dials and the knobs and the switches, I just want you to find that contrast knob. Turn it all the way to the right, or the white, until the image whites out completely. And notice how that makes you feel. Turn the image all the way to the left. Notice how that makes you feel. Some people it makes you feel worse. Some people just like it. It feels better when they go to the black. So whatever your system does, there is no wrong way to do this. It's all about discovering the coding system that your neurology uses to create your experience. That's what this exercise is really about. Whichever one makes it feel better, turn it all the way to that direction until you got it. If you're yawning, that's a good thing. Okay, that means you're clearing shit. Okay? People do all kinds of weird stuff physiologically when these things happen. White it out completely. Now, with your dominant hand, your dominant finger, imagine that your index finger is like a stylus. I want you to write across that blacked out or whitened out screen everything that this experience had to teach you so you can keep the lessons and let the rest go. Keep writing until you know you've got it all. The screen will scroll so you can write as much as your little heart desires. When you know you've got it all, just nod your heads a little bit and I'll move on to the next piece. But some of you like writing novels and that's okay. Your unconscious mind will get all of these instructions anyway. Now what I want you to do is something you want more of, make it big, make the image slightly translucent so you can see the lessons and the future beyond. So that everywhere you go, whatever you do, you've got those lessons guiding you, or you've got those rules guiding you for that thing you want more of. For those of you that want just this shit gone, I want you to shrink that stuff down to the size of a postage stamp. Float it up over the top of your head, move it back beyond the horizon. And you know the sound a nail gun makes? Feel it nailed back there. Possible to come back. When you know it's locked back there, try to bring it back and notice what happens instead. When you know it's done, take a tour of your body, notice how different you feel. What'd you notice?
I feel better.
Absolutely. How you feel?
Great.
Speak to me.
I feel really good.
Excellent. How's your throat, by the way?
It feels great.
Very cool. Is there no strangling going on?
Not at all.
Damn it. Give yourselves a big round of applause. All right. When we come back, we're going to teach you some amazingly cool stuff about how to drive your own bus. Now, a lot of the things that we've done will deal with pretty much everything that's on that board. True, not true? How many people here have already fixed some shit that was on that board when they came in? Right? Who did it? You did. I just showed you how. I just showed you how. And this is the worst you'll ever be at it. First time you learn anything is the worst you ever do, right?
The same process, instead of you doing it, I do it. Works the same exact way.
Yeah. As long as you would fully engage in the process, which is the hardest part. Because we think somehow we're different. We're not. But there is a difference between being on the outside observing somebody else having an experience and being in it. Right? And that's the thing you've got to be prepared for. When this gentleman came up, he came up for a shoulder issue. He didn't expect to break out in a sweat and have weird shit come bubbling up out of nowhere, did you? That's what happens. There's no such thing as a random ache or a random pain. Okay, your body's one massive hard drive. But nobody gave you the operating system. Right? And when we come back, we're going to actually teach you not just the techniques, we're going to teach you the operating system. We're going to teach you how it works in the metaphors that you can understand and use. And we're going to guide you through a couple of processes where you just clean up your own shit. That'd be cool. And program shit you want. Shit being a technical term. Did you have a good time? We'll see you in 15. Oh, by the way, before I go, a couple gifts. For everybody who came out tonight, most of you obviously are not going to make the trip to California. I get that. Remember I said my demographic falls into 3 distinct sets. People who want my help to fix their own shit, people who want my help to fix their shit, and then of course people who want to fix other people's shit. What I always do for all of my seminar participants, whether it's a meetup or whatever, everybody who came out tonight, my gift to you, especially for the holidays, is a free 30-minute consultation with me, in this case via Skype. And it's my 30 minutes, it's your questions. It's not a therapy session, because as much as I like to think I can help everyone, I can't. And so a lot of what I do is I spend a lot of time finding out, is your case a fit for our methods? And if it is, I'll tell you how I can help and what we can do. And we'll discuss strategies for getting you the help that you want or need. If I can't help you, I will tell you that too, and I will make recommendations for where to go next. Okay? I don't have a lot of slots left because of the holiday. If you can come to California, do it, right? But we do, over 75% of my clientele is international, so I do a lot of work through Skype, through Hangouts, FaceTime, whatever. So all you need to do to claim your free gift is stampede Tracy at the back of the room, and she'll get your name and stuff on our schedule. To see me normally is $175 an hour. So it's 30 minutes of my time, your questions, whatever you want, and we'll just have a good time, do some cool stuff. So that's what I got for right now. Eat as much chocolate as humanly possible. Drink the coffee. When you come back, I'm going to give you the keys to running your own neurology big time. All right? Thank you.